MetalSucks Blast Beat Network here with me today. How are you? How
What's
you
up?
been, man?
All right, man. Thank
Yeah,
you for. I'm loving this setup you have here with like the couch and the Van Halen on the wall.
yeah. Do the Van
Was this
Halen on
special
there?
for me, Van Halen, or in
Yeah,
the Rivers poster, or you
I've
always
been
had
having
it?
the Rivers poster up there here and there, but the Van Halen was special for you. But I also
Oh
love Van
man,
Halen.
that's so touching. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been tough to recover from that one. Like, obviously
Dude, yeah.
we need to move on, but for like a good week there, I was just nonstop jamming Van Halen, just nonstop.
Dude, I grew up listening to Van Halen a lot. My mom loves Van Halen. My dad does too, but my mom really loves Van Halen. And so that's all she would play, like a lot of fucking Van Halen. So that
Dude,
was,
that's me. That's
yeah,
like me since I
really.
was 10 years old. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm only a few years older than you,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like I got into it
Yep.
because I saw the video for Jump on MTV and I just thought it
Oh,
was
that was
so
it.
so cool, and it was like years after, it was probably like MTV Classic or something that I saw it on. I don't think that channel existed yet, but
Yeah.
the like I think they had a show, daytime show or something, and I saw it and my mind was blown.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you couldn't. No one sounded like Van Halen, and no one played guitar like that. I feel like he just had his own thing. He
Yeah,
really did.
like
His
I've been talking
style,
about
his
this a lot
sound.
with some folks, and like his style, like most guitarists kind of block things out into like rhythms and
Hmm.
leads, and this is part A and this is part B and this is part C. Like
Yeah,
for him, it was just one fluid kind of more constantly morphing thing of rhythms and leads, and this just kind of like continuous statement rather than just like chunks of riffs,
I
you
got.
know?
Yeah, exactly. No, no, you're right. I didn't even see that coming. I knew he was fighting cancer, right, for a little while, for a few years,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
I
I
knew
actually
about it,
like
but
I had a thought like I don't know, maybe over the summer sometime. I was like, should we write Eddie Van Halen's obituary now just to be ready?
wow,
Which is
yeah,
like really sad and morbid, and like we've actually never done that before, but you
yeah.
you have to imagine like the writers at the or editors at the New York Times are just sitting on like they've got the Ozzy obituary written
Oh, for
already. Like
sure.
that's ready to go. Like all Keith
Hmm.
Richards, Paul McCartney, like
They
all
have it
those
ready.
guys, like those obits are written, they're ready to go. So
Yeah, yeah,
but anyway, yeah, I had that thought about Van Halen. I didn't do it, but yeah, I mean it's
yeah. It's
sad, but
hard.
we move on. I just hope that I hope that today's kids, I hope that the younger
Young generation.
generations can appreciate all that he did for metal.
Yeah, he did a lot for it.
And I hope that this has brought some visibility to that
Hmm.
and inspired some of those people to dive deep.
Yeah, seriously. Well, anyway, so how's everything been with you during this whole pandemic and adjusting to it? I know we talked about it prior to this,
Yeah.
but it's
Well.
different.
Yeah. My family and I relocated to Woodstock, New York at
Yep.
the like dawn of the pandemic, basically.
Yeah, like right in the start, right? Right in the beginning of
Yeah,
it, in a
so
sense.
well we for those who don't know who are listening, we've been in Brooklyn for the past however many years. I was born and raised in Manhattan. So,
Oh, okay.
hardly ever lived outside of New York City except for college. And my wife is from up here in Woodstock. She grew up here and
Yeah.
lived a few other places before eventually settling in Brooklyn, and that's when we met. But so we had a baby on March 14th, which is like the day. In fact,
Oh,
maybe
I
you
didn't
can
even
hear that baby
realize it.
crying right now. Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect time.
Literally, that was like what, the
But
day after,
uh,
or
so
I
yeah, like
forget.
that was kind of when things like really hit America hard. Like when people realized
Realized,
how
yeah.
serious this was
Hmm.
that week, and that's when the stock market tanked and and just like everything really started shutting down. So we had our baby March 14th,
Yeah.
and that was a Saturday.
Yeah.
Or right, yeah, it was Saturday. And then on Sunday, March 15th, we learned that New York City public schools would be closing the following day on Monday, which affects us because we also have a five-year-old. At the time he was 4 in pre-K, and we were not expecting to have him at home with us when we were, you know, handling this newborn. You know, like all of a sudden, I mean, that really changed everything.
I didn't realize they shut the schools down right away. That's crazy.
Well, they should have done it sooner. Like they should have done it sooner, honestly. But I mean, they had to, because, you know, it was just like spreading like wildfire. It was just out of control. But yeah, so, you know, that created a big issue because now we had to take care of the 4-year-old, and you know, he was in school and aftercare from basically 8:15 in the morning till 5. So that was a big chunk of time that we had to fill. And, you know, and 4-year-olds are needy, you know, they need attention, they need stimulation, they need you to make food. And, you know, they're not malicious or, you know, like overly needy. They just need, you know, they need attention.
Yeah, they need your attention. Yeah.
So, you know, so we needed help, and we couldn't have anyone. We couldn't have my parents come over to help because of the pandemic. We couldn't like hire babysitters. We couldn't, at that point, we couldn't even like go to playgrounds, see any of his friends, like do play date, like anything. So we waited it out for 10 days, and then we packed up and came up here to Woodstock to move in with my wife's mother. In the house that my wife grew up in, and we never left. So, yeah, it's been quite an adventure. It's been nice being up here, being in the country, in the mountains.
It is really nice up there.
Yeah,
I grew up like 45 minutes away from there.
Some history in the area.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been different, man. You know, I mean, like I've spent a lot of my spring and summer and fall gardening. There was a beautiful gated in garden that was left behind by my father-in-law, who passed last year, and I took it over and just grew everything, man. Just so many vegetables, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
That's awesome. I've never done anything like that before.
Well, now
one day when I get a house,
way too hot, like human habitations.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, it's hard to grow stuff here, especially in the summer. It's just hot as shit the entire time.
Yeah, man. But it's been a lot of fun because I never had a chance to do anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, living and growing up in the city.
Like had some failures, but also had like a lot of successes, really, like more successes than failures.
That's good. It's
had a ton of cucumbers and lettuce and peas and bok choy, different kinds of squash. You know, it was like a big space we're talking about here. So, you know, I got down like dozens of each kind of plant, you know, like it was cool. And just tons of time weeding, and like I really got in touch with the natural world. I think, like, it's corny to say, but
it is,
just became like acutely aware of the changing seasons and sunlight and
all
you know, and everything that like really just comes along with growing food.
That's I mean, growing up in the city and everything, you never had that really at all, right? I mean, where do you have a garden in Manhattan?
I mean, like I had house plants, you know, like I guess it counts for something because you know, a lot of people say they can't even keep a house plant alive, but if you can fulfill the basic needs of light and water, like you know, you can do it.
You can make it happen.
But yeah, I mean, like so much of it was just following instructions.
You probably have
like you look at
you
just like look at the back of the seed package, you know, and it says like plant in rows 1 foot apart. You know, like okay,
all right, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then just
but yeah, man, you know, like overall it's been tough.
It's definitely a big adjustment, I feel like.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, you know, still we're really on our own out here. Like, you know, we have some friends here, some of my wife's friends who
Still live up
did a
there?
similar thing as we did, and
Oh,
some that just never left.
yeah.
I have one friend,
One
one
in
friend
in Woodstock?
um, in Kingston,
Oh, Kingston. Okay. Yeah. I have a
which
few
is just
friends that live
15
out
minutes.
there.
Yeah. Jesse Leach lives here actually from Killswitch Engage. He's
In
not a friend of
Woodstock?
mine, but he lives in Woodstock now. Yeah.
Wow. I did not expect that.
Yeah, he has been for the past couple of years. If he's a good Instagram follow and he posts about it a lot, like
Does he?
being one with nature
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
I figured you
Very
would know
Jesse.
him. Have you ever met Jesse before? I mean, I'm sure you
I've
have,
met
right?
him, yeah, but like I wouldn't call him a friend.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like the early days of MetalSucks. I never knew like I actually don't know any history of MetalSucks. I've been trying to figure out like when I found the website, like what year it was that I found MetalSucks, because the ones I do remember that I found when I was younger was like the PRP. The PRP was one website I would always go to when I was younger, like in high school. Early on in high school, like when I was like a freshman, I found it. I remember, and because they would always like, I think the one thing that stood out about it was they always had like the release dates for records, so I'd always know when shit was coming out, and that was like one. And I remember finding Lamb Goat. I probably found MetalSucks around that time too. I feel like.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly when that was for you, but if you were into new metal, probably PRP was the
The
place
one.
for those headlines.
Yeah.
Like still is. Like that dude has an uncanny ability for like just like posting about the Deftones all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I happen to know from working with him that those are some of his best performing stories. I think it's just like became kind
That
of
was
the
his niche.
Deftones fan club in a way. But like he also
Oh,
just
okay.
like finds the whatever the most obscure C-level new metal band from like 2001 is doing.
Yeah.
If they're like doing anything, he finds out about it and writes about it. It's kind of awesome.
It is awesome.
But anyway, yeah. So we started MetalSucks at the end of 2006. So it's been
Okay.
almost 14 years, which is bananas.
That's wild. Yeah.
And my partner Matt and I, who writes under Axel,
Yep. Yeah,
we've known each other since we were in kindergarten. We've been
Holy
going to
shit.
shows together for most of our lives, and
Yeah, a lot
we've
of
always been
history
good
there.
friends, and we've always been listening to metal. So
Yeah.
we were at a show. It was Children of Bodom and Amon Amarth co-headliner at
Jeez.
what is now, I actually think that club has closed, but it was the former PlayStation Theater,
Oh,
Nokia Theater, Best Buy
Nokia.
Theater.
Yeah, it was
that
all
one.
of those. Yeah.
I had this idea, and the idea was, let's make a website that's like Pitchfork, but for metal.
Yeah.
Like let's make it funny and snarky. Let's just make it like our conversations that we have stoned on your couch and like watching music videos, like Beavis and Butthead style. But let's just put that online
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it and just write about it. Like let's just
see what happens.
Let's do something different than what any of the other websites at the time were doing.
Yeah.
It seems kind of novel, it seems kind of passé now because so many sites do this, but at the time there was nobody that was giving original, honest takes on metal.
Yeah.
You just had Blabbermouth were the big players in the space, and and still
Blabbermouth's
are really.
huge.
They're just like press release, cut and copy and paste kind of format.
Yeah.
With a skew towards, I guess, maybe like slightly older stuff, you would maybe say. Although I mean they keep current, they cover the current stuff.
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, and and there were some other sites, or I guess like at the time, Revolver Magazine, Decibel. None of these places were doing really what we wanted to do, which was just to be honest and funny.
Yeah.
And so we launched it. I just set up a very basic WordPress, like didn't even change the theme, just like out of the
Kept it
box
as
WordPress
is.
site.
Yep.
Uh, and I think made like a little custom header with the name MetalSucks in the Pantera font, and we just started writing, and it caught on really fast because no one was doing it, and
Yeah,
like
which is
people appreciated the honesty
yeah.
of like talking about bands. I mean, I think back then we were like way more brutal,
Yeah.
than we are now. Like sometimes for effect,
It would
but
be yeah.
um,
Back then it was just like really, 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 really honest, I guess.
we would just like
Really
lay
brutal.
into band. We would just like make fun of bands for like stupid reasons and just, like fuck these guys and just like really like go for it.
Yeah.
Uh, and
I love that.
yeah, caught on because people liked the writing style. They liked the honesty. It
Hmm.
was entertaining. And like I've said a few times, no one was doing anything like that. So,
Yeah. You're like the first ones.
it, yeah, like it quickly got to a point where it was something that we could see maybe going somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, at the time, we both still had day jobs that thankfully were the type of jobs where we could kind of do it on the side, sneak
Yeah.
in a
While
little
you're at
like
job.
post here and there. Like I think in
Hmm.
those years we were posting like 5 or 6 times a day,
Oh,
just
okay.
kind of the stuff that we wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, and
That's
then
rad.
yeah, I mean, do you want to hear the whole like where we went from that with Blast Beat and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah. I did want to get into Blast Beat and how that all like became a thing and how it all started.
Right. So yeah. So at the time I was working at Atlantic Records. I was a web project manager, which means
Oh,
the
okay.
like in between person connecting the bands and developers and designers
Oh,
on
shit. Okay.
mostly like at the time like skinning MySpace pages. That was kind of the thing, and I was the go-between. I was like, okay, guys, like, what do you want on your MySpace page? Like, what do you want it to look like? And they
Oh,
would
okay.
they would tell me, and then I would translate that to like designer, developer speak
I
and
gotcha.
get it done.
And get it done. Yeah.
Like go to those people,
I
and
got
and then go back and forth and keep that process going until it was just right the way the artist wanted it.
yeah.
Um, so I was doing that for the rock bands at Atlantic.
Wow.
Um,
How long were you there for?
I was there for about a year and a half, year and 3/4.
Okay. So not too long.
Um, and so, yeah, this takes us up now until July 2009.
Yeah.
That that was when I quit. Um, and in that time, in the, I guess, 2.5 years or so between when we started the site and when I quit Atlantic,
Yeah.
um, we had hooked up with the Metal Injection guys who were also New Yorkers and who were doing a similar thing as us. We had met up with them basically just to meet one another, like, hey, like we're both doing kind of the same thing. Like, let's hang out.
Yeah. Why not?
So those guys came over to my house with a bottle of Jameson and
Oh,
uh,
nice.
and we supplied the weed, I think, or maybe too. I don't remember, but we got hella
Yeah.
baked and we came up with the idea for Blast Beat Network, which allowed us to keep the independent identities of our two sites
Yeah.
separate,
No.
while also teaming up to help each other through
Yes.
like by making a bigger platform that we could sell advertising on.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that took we got it off the ground fairly quickly, like within a couple months, and we got the
Really.
roster of sites of Blast Beat then was totally different than it is now.
Yeah.
Um, I think like at the time there was a site SMN News that was big in the metal scene for a while.
I remember that.
Metal Underground.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember that as well.
yeah, there were a few that sadly are no longer with us,
Yeah.
but yeah, now we've got Lamb Goat, the PRP, obviously MetalSucks and Metal Injection,
Gotcha.
Metal Insider, Gear Gods, which was a venture we started later on together,
Yeah.
and a handful of others, and like it's worked really well for us, honestly. it's provided a one-stop. I mean, you've bought
Oh
ads on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I know it's
It,
great.
it,
I know
it
a lot of people that bought
provides a
ads on it.
one-stop shop for people who are interested in targeting the metal audience. They can just
Yeah,
come to us and do one ad buy instead of having to do 10 different buys.
exactly. You just go through you, and you guys set it all up.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of bands that come to you, like unsigned bands, sometime?
Like
Or
unsigned bands looking to buy ads directly from us.
yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah,
like
we do,
pack.
and we actually have a package that's designed just for them. It's our least expensive package because obviously bands aren't gonna, have a ton of money to spend on their own.
Yeah, makes sense.
I would say by volume, just by like number of instances of like individual packages sold, like it's by
Uh-huh.
far the most popular one.
It is.
Um,
Okay, I feel yeah.
by like dollar amount cumulative, no, because like we'll get if we get a like $5,000 campaign from a label, which is rare, but does happen,
Yeah, it's from time to
or
time, right?
from somebody outside the industry, or like from a live show promoter, like that would be an area where we would get that level of buy.
Yeah.
That would take like whatever the math is, 25 unsigned bands to like even just hit $5,000. So
Yeah.
dollar wise, but yeah, I mean we sell a lot. I
Oh,
mean
that's great.
one of the things we get more and more is unsigned bands asking us how much it costs to post their video, which
Oh, on
is
like
frustrating.
MetalSucks and stuff.
Yeah, or like any of the
Right.
sites, we get them inquiries for all the sites, and this is something that I've learned is more common in Europe.
Oh,
I think
really?
specifically Germany, but not only Germany.
Okay.
We get bands wanting to, they want coverage and they just don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
We try and keep those relationships as separate as possible. The editorial from the advertising. Like obviously it's not perfect because we're the same people and
Yep.
we're handling both of them, but we certainly don't outright sell placements. We've never done that.
Yeah, you don't do
Uh,
that, no.
but there's ways that probably we do cover stuff because like a label is buying a package, maybe, like if we're being honest, like
Yeah, yeah.
not being for it necessarily. Like I will say, like we've never we wouldn't we would never include that, and I know for a
Yeah.
fact there are some publications even in the US that do just like straight up, like if you
So,
buy an ad package, we will cover your band.
yeah,
um,
they'll push that to
we
the
don't we
band.
don't like where it might be a factor is like say like a label spent some money on an ad package for a release, and then we get a pitch separately from that from the
Okay.
publicist, and it's a band that like me like is like okay, like a perfectly adequate like normal band that like maybe
Makes
none of
sense.
us are super jazzed on, but like they're fine, we'll be
Yeah.
like okay, write up the video, like sure.
Yeah, you'll do
uh,
it.
but yeah, it's a slippery slope, and we try and keep those two worlds as separate as possible.
Yeah. No, I could see why you would do that. That's great. So Blast Beat. So what year was Blast Beat started in?
So Blast Beat was started in 2008,
Wow, that
and
long ago.
then we all quit our jobs throughout the course of 2009 and devoted ourselves fully to Blast Beat and MetalSucks and Metal Injection.
Wow. Wow, damn. That's crazy. That's a long time. I didn't realize Blast Beat has been around that long. I thought that was like fairly new. Like, I don't know. Like, I always thought it was like 5 or 6 years old, maybe, for some
No, it's
reason.
maybe it's just gotten more visibility lately for one
Yeah.
reason or another, like people talking about it, but like yeah, it's been the economic engine that's allowed us to do this,
Yeah.
frankly, because like if we were just alone,
Yeah.
it would be a lot harder to attract those advertising dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And like we earn money off the other sites too. So for all
Exactly.
the ads that we sell, that we display on the PRP and Lambgoat, we we keep a percentage of those,
Yeah,
and
which makes sense.
that helps fund what we do.
Yeah. No, that
Uh,
totally makes sense.
so yeah, it all adds up.
Well, that's good to know. I didn't really know all that background history.
Yeah,
At
it's like
all.
a really unique, I mean, I guess it's not that unique in that vertical ad networks have existed for quite a long time. In fact, are kind of like antiquated at this point with everyone buying ads on
Oh
social
yeah,
media for the most part. But like, it's allowed us to do this full
full
time
time. Yeah,
for 11 years, which
yeah.
is pretty goddamn remarkable,
It is. That is
to
really
be able to,
awesome.
and like I tell people this all the time, to be able to learn and to earn a living in heavy metal is extremely rare.
It
And I
is.
feel
It's
super fortunate to have been able to do it for this long.
yeah.
So, like I always say, like if it dried up tomorrow, like I
Mm-hmm.
would just be like, all right, well, it's been a good run,
Yeah,
like,
we did it for
thank you
that
for your
long.
service. Uh, but yeah, it's so blast beat has really kind of been the economic engine that's allowed that to happen.
Gotcha.
If we never did form blast beat, who knows? Maybe we would have been able to do it independently, or maybe we would have partnered up with a different network,
Yeah,
whether that was in the metal world or somewhere else.
yeah.
But as it stands, blast beat has
It's
been good
been
to us
yeah.
for
No, that's
sure.
awesome. So we had a question from Alec. It's a good question, I guess. I've been asked it before, but do you have any advice or tips on what you think bands should be doing more than ever during this pandemic, this standstill?
Yeah, write music, just
Write music.
like write, like until your fingers bleed or your voice is sore, until, you have way more than one album. You've got like 5 albums worth of material
Oh
written.
yeah, that's
Uh,
what
you
I've been
know,
telling everyone too. Like just write.
because like what's going to make you better? I mean, like you can't tour, obviously, so that's just forget about that. Don't
Yeah.
even worry about that at all. It's just not happening. So I
Yes.
mean, this is a thing, I think that bands lose sight of very often, especially in metal, which is
Yeah.
kind of like a technically focused genre,
Yeah.
is that songwriting is so, so, so important. And by songwriting, I mean the art of writing a good song.
Yes.
What's a good song? Well, a good song is one that people will remember and want to listen to again
Mm-hmm.
on its most elemental level.
Yeah.
And there's people who, I mean, to some extent, I guess, well, okay, no, I'm not going to say that. I just think that I think that songwriting is a skill that develops over time.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the better at it you get.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
the more you practice, the better you're gonna eventually get at
yeah,
it.
it's just like anything. That's right. And I just think it's something that so often gets overlooked as its own art form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. I do.
And like I think a lot of metal players in particular sort of look down at genres that are more song focused, like
Mm-hmm.
pop or country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have to say, I have the utmost respect for pop and country songwriters
Oh yeah,
because
dude.
those people have tremendous skill, like just insane levels of skill, like the ability to write a catchy song with a
Mm-hmm.
hook that people want to sing and people want to hear again.
And again,
That is
yeah.
not easy. Like people think it's easy. It's like, oh, it's a 3.5 minute song, like verse, chorus, verse,
Verse,
bridge,
bridge,
chorus,
yeah. But
like
it's
out.
really not that easy.
It's not only not that easy, it's insanely difficult. There's a reason these guys get paid millions of dollars, these songwriters.
Yeah.
Um, So anyway, that's a kind of a bit of a tangent, but I would say to Alec, just write, man. Like get better
His band's
at
good
your
actually.
instrument, get better at songwriting.
Yeah.
So that when it does come time to record an album and eventually tour, you've got 50 songs. They don't have to be like, just very basic demos. You've got 50 songs and you can choose the best ones
Yeah.
and just work on refining those and make those your album,
Exactly.
and like like nothing is gonna service you more for your career than good songs. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it all comes back to good songs. Like you can have a cool look or a gimmick. Like
Yeah.
Ghost, for example, like a band that I see a lot of people say like, oh, it's just the gimmick. It's just
I
the
know.
like the
A lot of
story,
people say
whatever.
that shit
And like
about
those
Ghost.
those things are totally important and part of Ghost's success. But if they didn't have good songs, they would not be successful.
Hmm.
Um, and they have great songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, work on the songs. That's my
That's
advice.
it. Yeah, that's what I've been telling everyone. I even had a call with Lynn, the drummer of Ingested, this morning about some things, and he was even like, he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll have a new record out by the time, or even before touring starts again." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, we have a whole new record done. It's all written." He said, "We're just banging songs out left and right. We're just constantly writing." He's like, "That's all we've been
Yeah,
doing." Like literally, he's like, "All we've been doing is writing." Even prepare, after they recorded the new record that just came out like a couple months ago. He's like, "We were writing the new record during the recording of that record." And I'm like, "Damn, really?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, this is the
yeah,
perfect
that's how you
time,
gotta
man.
be.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do.
You
You
know,
gotta write. Gotta keep doing it.
you gotta
I
just
mean,
keep pushing.
obviously, you have to rest also.
Yeah.
Um,
But if the
you don't want to
creative
burn
juices
out.
are going, it's like you just got to go. And like even Sean,
Exactly.
the guitarist, has told me because he writes most of the stuff. He's like, "Dude, I've just been on a kick, man. It's just constantly like I wake up, start playing guitar, and I'm just like busting out these riffs. So I just record
It's
everything."
amazing.
Yeah, I was like, "Damn, dude."
I mean, that's also like it's good that he has the drive to do
Yeah,
that. Like a
exactly.
lot of people don't, whether it's just their very nature or mental illness or just, having trouble motivating that day or whatever. And like I want to
Which is
acknowledge that,
understandable.
like it is really hard to sit down and write songs and record them. Like it
Hmm.
just like you have to get over this mental hurdle into forcing yourself to do it sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're
And
right.
that's really, really difficult.
I feel like
Um,
it's like even more difficult. It can be more difficult now because of just everything going on for some. I'm sure
yeah,
there's musicians out there that are having a hard time writing,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Just because, like, of all that's going on in the world can certainly bring you down. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if you meant it that way or you meant in
Yeah.
terms of like sometimes you can almost have too much time on your hands in a
Yes.
way.
Yeah. That's another thing.
Yeah,
Exactly. And he's like, why be a musician if you aren't always trying to make music? True.
that's
COVID's
true.
make
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I'm seeing Alec in the chat now
Yeah.
saying that, and
It's really not the easiest. COVID makes it real hard, especially. Yeah, it does. Because everyone doesn't know. There's like no um, light at the end of the tunnel at the moment, I guess you could say. If there was, then I feel like more people will be, I don't know, more positive. I mean, I've had many ups and downs during all this shit.
yeah,
I definitely keep to myself a lot. I'll talk to my girlfriend about things, but like it's it is a roller coaster. So I give even like hearing like Sean or the guys in Ingested being like, "Oh yeah, we've just been writing a lot," and I'm like, "Wow, props," that's good that you
yeah.
have that motivation.
I mean, the other thing is like everyone is great in their own mind,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So like, when Alex says like, why be a musician if you aren't always trying to make music? Yeah, like I think some people just get hung up on the steps between the concept in your mind
Yeah.
and manifesting it in reality.
Hmm.
Like that's the hardest step a lot of times.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Um, so, I think it's like even the most talented musicians just can have trouble with that.
Oh yeah,
Which
everyone's.
is why you see like some bands take 5 years or like 10 years between albums and why some crank them out every two or three.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely reasons behind all of that. So, how did you first start working with Rivers and Nile? Let's talk about the boys.
Yeah. So, well, there was a band that I managed before Rivers.
Okay.
Or well, there were a few, but for the purposes of this conversation, there was this band, the Binary Code, who
Oh
are
yeah,
still kicking,
great
and
band.
yeah, really good band. And they were dudes that I knew from just like the scene, in New
Yeah.
Jersey, New York. Like, honestly, I can't quite remember exactly how I came across them. Um, I feel like it might have been Curran Reynolds. Do you know Curran?
Wow. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I haven't heard his name
Yeah,
in a
like
while.
he's been a publicist in the metal world for a long
Yeah.
time, but he's also a musician. He was in Wet Nurse for a while. He was in Today Is the Day with Steve Austin,
Yeah.
and now he has his own project, Body Stuff. But just
Oh,
like
I
really
gotta check
nice
that out.
dude, really understated. Really cares a lot about the genre. He would
Yeah.
have these shows at a now defunct venue in Manhattan called the Lit Lounge, which
Sounds
was
familiar.
really just a dingy basement on the Lower East Side. I mean, it held like maybe 50 people.
Yeah.
But he would do these shows there every Monday night for years.
Okay.
And they
Yeah.
were a real cool like showcase for local talent, really, and
Yeah.
he would book bands from out of town too sometimes. But I think what happened is he reached out and he said, "Hey man, I think you would dig this band Binary Code. You should come down and check them out." And excuse me. So I did, and they were awesome. And I'd always kind of wanted to get into management, and so I started talking to them and
Yeah.
um, worked with them for 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe longer even. Yeah,
Mhm.
like probably 4 or 5 years,
Oh, okay.
maybe even longer than that. But like never could really get anything going for them, and I'm not sure why. There are probably a bunch of reasons, but
It happens.
ironically, it was Jesse from that band who then said to me, "Hey man, you got to come check out this band Rivers of Nile, who
Okay.
are opening for us at Lit Lounge on the Monday night show. I
Oh,
think
all
you would
right.
really dig them. Like, come out early, make sure you see them."
Yeah.
And same thing. Like, I went and I was just blown away. I was like, "Holy shit! Like, these guys are fucking killing it. Like, these guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
good, man. They were like
Yeah, you saw it.
super, super tight. I just remember, it was a small room with like literal like
Small
stone
PA.
walls, so it was like very hard to sound good in there. And they just sounded fantastic. And like their like hair was like fucking everywhere and it just looked awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I like same thing, I kind of started talking to them, but by that time I had the hindsight of the binary code in
Mhm.
which, like I would sit with the binary code and we would like I would build a Shopify store for the pre-orders and spend
Yeah.
hours on it. And we would, they would come over and we would package up CDs together and like all that, And so by
Wow.
this time with Rivers, like I'd kind of learned my lesson a little bit. I was like, listen, I would really like to do this with you guys. I would like to see if I can get something going, but I
Yeah.
can only do it if I have a team, meaning a label and a booking agent. Like I
Gotcha.
can't be the only person. It's just too hard.
It's too much.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so I said, let me shop you guys around and
Hmm.
see what I can do. Um, and I ended up getting them a bunch of offers. Um, I had
Yeah,
Season
because
of
you picked
Mist.
picked them up before they were signed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you've
were
had.
they were not signed. Yeah,
Yep.
so I ended up going to my contacts at labels and
Hmm.
sending them some demos that I had, and
Yeah.
and trying to get them to take a chance on the band. So we ended up having a few labels interested, like 4 or 5.
Hmm.
We went with Metal Blade, and yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. I mean, it's like
It
I
just
will
took off
say
from
it's been,
there.
and this, like it's been a long road for them.
Yeah.
Their
No, it
success was
has.
not overnight at
Mm.
all.
No,
Um,
not at
it
all.
was between when I started working with them in I think 2011 and when the success that they experienced on Where Owls Know My Name. That's like 7 years,
Dude, literally.
and like I'll tell you, I tell this story all the time.
Yeah.
Back before the world ended in our Brooklyn apartment, I've got a gigantic print of the album cover from their first record, The Conscious Seed of Light,
Yeah.
which was custom made for me by Dan Seagrave, who made
Really.
the painting. And it's huge. It's 44 inches by 40, so basically 4 feet
Holy
by 4 feet, and
shit.
it's like gigantic and it's framed and it's one of a kind.
Yeah.
Um, and I bought that with all of the money that I made on the entire first album cycle.
Wow.
You know, so
Yeah.
like I did, you know, I mean, I guess you could hear that and think like, oh, that must have been an expensive, you know, but no, it was the opposite. Like
It was the opposite,
it was
yeah.
very fairly priced. I just didn't earn much money.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and that's just what it was like for the first two albums. But I believed in these guys, and they just kept getting better and better. You know,
They
like to
did.
Alex's point, like they worked on the songwriting, and they
Yeah.
worked on their skills, and they
They're a
worked on
very
their
good
live show
example.
and everything. You know, and
Yeah.
through years of hard work, it paid off.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's those guys. That's how I
Yeah.
came, and you know, and they've become some of my good friends. Love those guys, and you know, like
Oh
I
yeah,
can only
same.
take so much credit. I think like I've put them in, or at least played a part in putting them in a position to succeed, and sort of
Yeah, no, you have.
guided the boat a little bit. But
Yeah,
you
you
know,
just steered
again,
them.
like speaking to Alex's point,
Yeah.
um, it, you know, none of it would matter if they had not written an incredible album.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember when you hit me up about working with them, it was during Monarchy. I think it was in the beginning. I was
No,
like,
you hit me up.
or
You
I
hit
hit
me
you
up
up
about
because I
working.
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I was
was
just,
you.
yeah, I was telling you how much I liked the record. Because I
Yeah.
didn't really get into the first record until I heard Monarchy and I loved it so much. So then that's when I went back to the first record and started listening to it more. And I was like, oh, wow, I love this one too. What the fuck? I missed out on this one, you know? Well, not really, but you know what I'm saying. And like, yeah, Monarchy just really grabbed me. And, but then, you know, fast forward to Where Owls Know My Name, I remember Brody sending me the pre-pro. So, you know, no vocals, no anything else, just raw. And I was just like, wow, you guys just get better. And then I heard the record finish. I was like, holy fuck. Like, this is insane. This is
Yeah.
amazing. But I don't think
Yeah.
we all knew it was great, but I don't think we knew it was going to like take off like it did.
No. And how can you?
How
You
can
know,
you?
and so
Yeah.
so like so many times when people are sure, that's when it doesn't fucking
It
work
doesn't
out, you
happen.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was unexpected.
It was. Yeah.
Um, to some extent, you know, and I mean, I
Yeah.
remember the moment I realized that you know we were like really had something with that record was when they put out the first single, The Silent Life,
Mm-hmm.
and just
I
like
love that song.
seeing the view count after 24 hours, or like I, you know, I forget exactly like
Yeah, I
what the
forget it
time
was.
period was, or you
Yeah.
know, or like what the view count was, but like it would far surpass anything they'd ever done before, and we were like, whoa, like people
Yeah.
are into
They're
this.
go. Yeah, they're
Um,
digging it.
Yeah, and then it was just like a wild ride. Like it was just like this wave of like fan acclaim, critical acclaim,
Yeah.
you know, tour offers,
Oh
and
yeah,
then,
man, it
you know,
was
like success
wild,
the
dude.
headlining successful headlining tours both in the US and Europe.
And
You know, it
Canada,
was
even the
just
Canada run. Remember,
in
we were all
Canada,
blown
right?
away
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
what is
like
this
the best.
doing?
I mean, like that's okay, so like that's one area where, you know, I'll say like that was my idea. You know,
Yeah, no, I
like
know it was. It
like
was
yeah, like where a manager could, you know, can maybe like, you know, but again, like if the band doesn't have the songs, none of it fucking matters, you know. So that like that's why I say
exactly
like when, you know, a manager can steer the ship, but you know, he can
the
only have
band.
so much. But yeah, with the Canada tour, like you're
I
right, that
remember
was a early example of like, whoa, okay,
these
like
shows are
this
really doing
is
good.
pretty sweet. And like, yeah, I remember the first date of that tour in Portland, Maine, I think it was,
Yeah,
you know,
Portland. Yeah,
which
man.
like did reasonably well on like a Wednesday night or Thursday night or
Yeah, it was a
whatever.
weekday. Yep.
Yeah. And like, you know, I remember
For
like as
Portland,
soon as
Maine,
that,
we were like, "Whoa, okay, that's decent. That's more than I thought there was going to be there."
exactly. Yeah. And like, I remember like seeing that like after that first show and being like, okay, this tour is going to do well.
Good
Like, you know,
start.
we're good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it did.
it did. Yeah, you even went to that. Didn't you go to the Halifax show?
I
Was
did,
it
yeah.
how
So
you and
my
your
wife and I took our first
like little?
kidless vacation
Yeah,
since having offspring,
yeah,
and our our son was 3 at the time,
Uh-huh.
and like we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. I don't really remember how it was chosen. Um, I think it was actually my wife's idea. Like I think we
Really?
were just talking about the Canadian tour, and
Okay.
she's like, "Oh, we should go like to a
Go to the
place
show.
where they're going." You know,
Yeah.
like I've always wanted to go to Halifax or like something like that.
Something up there, yeah.
Um, yeah, so we went, and yeah, it was like this cool little basement club,
It was a small ass
like much
place.
much bigger than the lounge.
Yeah.
And
I think it was like a
yeah, like people were
150
going nuts for it.
capped.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. Fucking Halifax, which like for those people who don't know, is basically the end of the earth. Like
Yeah.
it's it's
Go look it up.
it's a city. I think there's like 400,000 people or something. So it's like the size of, I don't know.
I don't know.
um,
But yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
but yeah, it's like it's a significant city, but it's just like it's out there.
it is.
It, yeah,
Not a lot excuse me. Not a lot of bands go to it. I mean, I think
right.
to be honest with you, I think Rivers of Nile or Seeker were the first ones of bands that I work with that went there. Like I've never, whenever bands that I work with want to go to Canada, or they want to do a Canadian run, it honestly never includes Halifax, or that area, that part of Canada. So
Hmm.
that was like kind of new. There was like a few spots on that tour. I remember I had to get contacts from Stefan, my boss, and be like,
Right,
"Hey, I
right.
have no clue who books here. Who do you
Yeah,
know?" And he's like, "Well, here's this guy. He's good, but don't expect like much money." So if the
yeah,
guys are good with that, he's reliable, right? And that's just. But those shows, the ones where we had really no idea, like Montreal and Toronto and stuff, like you kind of know what they're gonna do, which those I think exceeded our expectations too. But the small towns in Canada definitely surprised us.
yeah.
And
And like just by way of example, for like geographically speaking, a reference,
yeah,
like it would kind of just be like if you were to tour and go to the very end of Baja California, like the tip of the
it's,
peninsula, like I think most people know what that is. Like
yeah,
you can't go anywhere else. You have to turn around and go back.
yep,
So like it's kind of a dead end, and that's why a lot of bands don't go there.
yeah.
But yeah, it worked out well. And yeah, like I remember the idea was like, let's just go everywhere in Canada and then come back through the northern US. And that helped to buid up those markets as well,
Oh, it
which
did,
are
yeah,
really strong for Rivers now, like
yeah.
Minnesota
Minnesota,
and Wisconsin and well, Chicago's always been, but
yeah,
particularly those
those
northern
two,
areas.
yeah. The
Yeah.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, those shows crushed. Completely blew. Those definitely blew us away too. I mean, I was surprised about all. And even then going into like the headlining tour in the States, that was just like the flyer right there next to Ben.
Yep.
That
There it is.
tour was it was great.
Or
And
let's see if
that's when I first
that's
Rivers and Nile was yes. Rivers and Nile was the one that turned me on to Conjurer. I remember when you hit me up with like the list of bands that, look into for the tour. And I was like, who's Conjurer? What's this band? And then I listened to him and I was like, oh my God, this band's fucking awesome. And those guys had a fucking blast on that tour. First US tour ever.
Yeah, that band is sick. Like I didn't know
Right?
about them either until the
Yeah.
Rivers guys introduced me to them. And like I think they now or like whenever they release their next album
Oh yeah.
will be, as long as it doesn't completely shit the bed, they'll be where Rivers were on
Oh
this
yeah.
record. You
I
know
feel
what I
like
mean? Like I
yeah,
think they're poised for that elevation.
they really are. The band and they especially blew me away when I saw them, live. That's where I was like
Yeah,
really
me
hooked
too.
to them. I was like, holy shit, man.
Me too.
And
Yeah, I
there's
see
such
in
good
the
dudes.
chat, Imperial Blackness,
Yes.
Conjurer fucking blew me away on that tour. I was at the San Diego
Oh,
show.
awesome. Dude, yeah.
Yeah, actually, we have video of that show that Metal Blade took that we never released.
Oh,
So
that's right.
maybe it'll
It'll
see the
come
light of
out.
day
Did
at some
they
time. I mean,
did Vince do it?
yeah, Vince did
Right?
it and some other Metal Blade crew. Like what happened was is we were gonna do like a proper live, release of some kind, like probably just online only, but we were going to do
Yeah.
something with it. And then Kerrang filmed the St. Vitus show, the
That's
first
right.
one at the end of the tour.
I remember.
And it
Yeah.
came out so amazing that like we were like, well, we can't top that.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. And like Metal Blade was kind of bummed about it, which I totally understand. They're like, why did we send people down there to, you know, if
To
it's
do
not going to be
this.
released? But like, I think ultimately they understood too. They're like, yeah, like
I mean,
the
that's
Vitus show is fucking sick. And just
yeah.
like the energy in the room was just unbelievable. And
Oh, it was,
Kerrang
dude.
did an amazing job capturing it.
They did. Yeah. Even adding the second Vitus show was a great idea too. And then having like Imperial Triumphant on that,
Yeah.
Outer Heaven, and who there was one other band, I can't remember who the heck it was.
It was some death metal band.
Yeah, it was a band that Rivers is like friends with. That's
Yeah,
really good. I remember.
Was it Warforged or Illustrium or like one of those bands?
No, Warforged is a band that Brody, the Rivers and Nile guys, turned me on to too.
Yeah.
I never knew about them, and then I remember Brody and Biggs hitting me up about them and being like, "Check out this record." And at first, I was like, "There's a lot going on here."
Yeah, it's dense music.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And then after a few listens, I was like, "Okay, I get it, and I really like it." Those guys have like a really good ear for good bands.
Yeah, they do. And they've like going back to the Conjurer thing, that
Yeah.
this is something that we worked on a lot, was assembling a tour lineup that was not just a standard like death metal lineup. You know,
Yeah.
we really wanted to vary it because they're a band that has varied influences.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to be touring with death metal bands all the time.
Exactly.
Nothing against death metal bands, just variety is good.
Yeah, no, a little variety is great. And I think that lineup, you know, looking at it right now, Wolf King, Conjurer, Entheos, and Rivers was honestly perfect. It turned out great. Even Entheos on that tour just blew me away. They stepped it up as a band. Their live show, the lights, everything. They sounded incredible. I was just like really blown away by them as well. I even told them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like,
they had a
wow.
cool light show. I do
Yeah.
remember that.
And they sounded great as well. I was like, wow. Because I've seen them before, but it was years before this tour. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. And I just never really got really into them. And I think I didn't really get into Entheos until I saw them on this tour. And I was like, okay, this is fucking sick. This band they really, really stepped it up.
That's so much of life though, right? Is like
Yeah.
seeing a band live that you've heard of or listened to even, and then being blown away by them live, you know, and that's not happening right now, and it sucks.
It does. Yeah.
You know, like I want to say that people are being forced to get into new music other ways. I don't know whether that's the case. Like I think it's really hard for brand new bands right now. Really, really hard.
Because, yeah, I mean, seeing a band live and being blown, like seeing a band live for the first time, maybe you haven't heard of them before, or you have and you listen to them, but seeing that band live and just being blown away is like the best feeling. That's like, that gets me stoked. Especially like before, like if I'm talking to a band about working with them and then I go see them live and I'm blown away by them, it's even better. That gets me like way more stoked to work with a band. I'm like, oh God, this band has it, you know? Like, for example, Conjurer, it was like, I picked them up and then I saw them live and I was like, holy shit, this band's incredible. I got to work with them. Like, there's no doubts about them. I was like, I want to work with you guys. And then just meeting them as well. And then they stayed with me. I think I got them in like Rivers and Nile, like an Airbnb, and we partied and shit. And I was just like, these are the coolest fucking dudes.
Yeah, remember partying?
Yeah, remember that? Remember all the money we've spent on alcohol and Ubers?
Oh my God, I know. That's a crazy thing.
Oh my God, dude. Looking back at it now, I'm like, how did I have that? Where did this money come from? I was actually making good money. Holy shit. Now I'm like, man, I've saved a lot of money. I get gas in my car like once every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If that. I haven't gotten an oil change in my car since March.
Nice.
Which usually it's every 2 months. 2.5.
It's so interesting because like I'm driving more than I ever have because I live here now.
Yeah, you're in Woodstock. You have to.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel you. I mean, like certainly on on the going out and like booze. Like, if I have 2 beers in a night, that's a lot.
Yeah, I have, dude. I barely drink. Like, it's insane. The last time I drank any alcohol was at my friend Stu, my old roommate in Dallas. It was his birthday, early September, and I went up there to hang out with him and a few friends, and that was the last time I drank.
Wow.
Which is
Good for
nuts.
you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm more. When I had Ken from Abigail Williams, I did an episode with him, and we were talking about this too. He was just like, "Yeah, I haven't really drank anything." He's like, "I'm more of just like a social drinker. So like when I'm hanging with my friends, it's like, yeah, I'm drinking." And then he's like, when I'm just like by myself or like hanging out at home, whatever, hanging out home, he's like,
Same.
I just
Yeah.
don't really think about it.
To me, it's a social activity as well.
It
Like
is.
I'll have like a drink maybe,
Yeah,
but like early pandemic when we were all just like never leaving our homes at all.
I was.
The only times that I had more than one or like maybe two drinks were like Zoom calls with friends.
Yeah,
Like I don't know if you were doing that, but like
yeah, here and there.
I had like had a few with my college buddies,
Oh,
and
really?
like I got like kind of
Yeah,
tanked. I drank
yeah,
like
yeah.
half a bottle of whiskey on my own, and there was one. A friend of mine had a birthday party on Zoom, and it was like the format was hanging out for an hour, and
Yeah.
then a dance party like afterwards. And she just put on a playlist of mostly early 90s dance music like La Bouche and Snap and like
Oh God, yeah,
shit like that.
yeah.
And like everyone just danced in their living rooms, and like it sounds corny and awkward, but it
But
was so much fun. And like I just went
I
for
love
it and
it,
just was pounding the whiskey.
dude. That's
um
awesome.
but like that actually was the impetus for the heavy metal happy hour thing that
Yeah, let's get
we
into
were talking.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we launched a series called Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Yep.
It is right here on Twitch, and it broadcasts every Thursday night. It's an hour long.
Check it
It's
out.
hosted by Whitney Moore,
Let me
who
get a
is
link to it.
an actress, I guess is the most broad way of saying it. She used to do a YouTube show for MetalSucks called The Week
Yeah.
in Metal. She recently had a show on Sci-Fi
working? Oh,
that
things are working.
kind of melded the horror and metal worlds, I think. And like she's done stuff for Geek and Sundry, and like she's just like in the kind of like nerd universe, like
Yeah.
metal, video games, comic books,
Hmm.
um, like that sort of thing. Like she's just and she's great to work with, super professional, big metalhead, super knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And so I was at the Zoom birthday party, and I was like, this is amazing. We have to do something like this for metalheads. And of course, I was like drunk and stoned, but I rolled with it, and
Yeah.
we got E1 to sponsor it.
Yep.
And we hired Whitney to do the show for 12 episodes. So we'll see what happens after that. But the format is it's an hour long, and it starts. So there's a playlist, and Whitney's it's like a DJ set. She's
Yeah.
playing tunes, and she's chatting with people in the chat.
Yep.
And then half an hour in, we have a special guest that comes on to hang out, much like we are now, but
Yeah.
with music playing underneath. So we've had Blasco from Ozzy's band. We had two
Yeah.
guys from Guar. We had Rob Flynn from Machine Head,
Oh,
Lejean from
wow.
Seven Dust, Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder. So it's a different guest every week for half an hour.
For a half hour.
And it's
Okay.
just, it's a Twitch hang. Like it's,
Mhm.
it's low stakes, people just hanging out.
Talking,
Um,
drinking.
and yeah, thank you
if they
for
want.
posting the link there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, I'm not.
yeah, twitch.tv/heavy metal happy hour for if anyone's listening
Every
and not looking at the
Thursday,
chat.
right?
And yeah, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern
Eastern.
and 5 p.m. Pacific.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
kind of right in that happy hour
Area. Yeah, that time.
yeah.
No, it is a great idea, honestly. I started to follow it the other day, so I know when I get the notification, I'm definitely going to check it out. and
Yeah, so
join in
this
on
week,
it.
this Thursday, we have Matt Byrne, the drummer from Hatebreed.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Next week, so that will be the 29th, I believe.
Yeah, let's see.
Thursday, we have Mark Tremonti and Scott Phillips from Alter Bridge.
Yeah,
Then Then the week after that, we have Brittany Slays from Unleash the Archers.
Oh, that's awesome.
And who are one of my
List.
favorite bands of this year that I discovered this year. I know they've been
Unleash.
around for, but and what's that?
Unleash the Archers.
Unleash the Archers, yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
And then we'll have one episode left after that that'll complete the 12 that we're contracted for.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get somebody from Lamb of God for that. We're in discussions. We'll see if that happens.
That would be fucking rad.
But yeah, I mean, I think like the thing that I've learned and like Twitch, like I've only dabbled in it over the years, so this is kind of like my first experience really like living in the Twitch world for Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Like my experience, well, what I've learned is that it's kind of just more about the hangout, like regardless of who's there in a way. Like, you know, like you're like establishing a rapport with the audience and people who come back and chat with you and kind of just like get in on, you know, on the vibe you're creating.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do. And so far, so good. We'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea, honestly. No one's doing that. And I think it can keep growing. I mean, especially with these guests.
Here's another idea for you, and you know, maybe, and don't steal it. I'll murder you. And like anyone in the chat, if I see this idea launched, I'm gonna know where the fuck you got it. Okay, so don't share it. Don't share it.
I won't.
I probably shouldn't even say it, but I'm going to. So the idea is heavy metal trivia.
And, okay, yeah, that's a cool idea.
Trivia at a bar. You know, where people, you know, like the host asks the question and then you have a team and you could be like on a Zoom call with just your team, but you know, you're watching the host on YouTube and then there's like a form you send in with your answers, like however the mechanics work.
Yeah.
Oh,
shit, he froze.
Kind of got the idea from Ted Berg, who's a baseball writer. And like he did one for baseball and it was awesome. Like I did it and it was so much fun, you know, and I had like my team with some of the other dudes I played baseball with. Yeah. And, you know, we had like our Zoom call and then we would submit the answers and, I was like, why isn't anyone doing this for metal?
Yeah. It's a great fucking idea. So is that something you guys are thinking about doing? I'm not going to steal it. I won't steal it. I promise.
Like they're very early phases thinking, you know, like I have not started thinking about trying to organize it yet. Like it's just an idea at this point. I got like a few things sort of ahead of it in the queue for like that are occupying my mental space at the moment. And then once I tackle those, maybe I'll get to that.
Yeah, get through that. No, that's awesome. You know, there was one other thing. There was one thing I wanted to ask you. How did you come up with the name Vince Nielsen?
Well,
where did you guys think? Like, did you guys not want to use your actual names when you first started MetalSucks? Is that when you started?
Well, okay. So this is something that I forgot to mention before. So like, you know, I mentioned the like Let's Do Pitchfork for Metal.
Yes.
Another one of our big influences was Metal Sludge. I don't know if you know that site.
No, I don't think so, actually.
It's kind of like a Drudge Report, but for like 80s hair metal bands only.
Oh, okay.
And they always had funny writers that operated under aliases, and I think that was some inspiration for the idea.
I gotcha, yeah.
Honestly, I don't completely remember, because as with most ideas that we've come up with for this entire career, really, we were very stoned when it happened. But like the basic idea was like, let's make pseudonyms that are Jewish versions of famous 80s rock stars. Okay. So we ended up with Vince Neilstein and Axl Rosenberg.
I love that one, Axl Rosenberg.
And then there were a couple others, like other people throughout the years who riffed on that same theme. But yeah, I mean, like we weren't trying to avoid attention. Like I think that was the assumption.
Yeah.
Or that's the assumption that a lot of people make, that like oh, like if we write under pseudonyms, then no one will bother us. And although I will say that that element of it has actually been pretty nice at times over the years, even
I
if
could
it's
imagine.
easy to, yeah, like it's easy to find out who we are. I mean, like here I am doing a podcast with you, under my real name, and I've done many before, and
Yeah,
our
I know.
names
Yeah.
are just out there. But like, most people just don't think to look it up.
No.
So like the anonymity has provided, it has been nice at times, I will say. And like,
Yeah, I could
I
imagine.
do sometimes get people coming up to me at shows and, and punishing me a bit. Um,
Yeah.
but if it was my real name, it would be way worse,
Oh, yeah, I would think so as
yeah,
well. I would
you know,
definitely think so. Have you ever encountered anyone that, because obviously MetalSucks will, I see it, we all see it, like people that comment and like hate on the things you guys sometimes post and all that. Have you ever encountered, I guess you could say, a hater in real life?
no,
No.
like,
Okay.
like it really
I
is the
always
people
wondered that. I really always
there.
wondered that.
Like people just feel emboldened to say shit online that they would never
Yeah.
say face in person.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just true. I mean, I would have to imagine that there have been people that have seen me at shows and recognized me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like, I hate that fucking guy. Like, I just want to give him a piece of my mind, or, whatever. But they never have. So
So that's good.
yeah.
That's definitely nice. So what's your I guess what's your prediction on how things look for the future for us, for the music industry, I guess?
Well,
Do you have any predictions like I did months ago?
right. I mean, you were one of the only people keeping it real,
Yeah.
and it turns out you were even being conservative. But yeah,
Yeah.
like
I
a
know, right?
lot of tours now are being canceled for early 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say like for Rivers of Nile, they had been talking about doing a European tour
Yeah, in
and a
the
US
spring,
one
right?
actually in the
Yeah.
spring.
Yep.
Um, and it didn't even go as far as booking it, but we were
Just
seriously discussing it, and and now we're just like, yeah, fuck that, like let's punt it to the fall.
yeah.
Um,
I feel like a lot of people are starting to do that. I
yeah,
mean,
so
there
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
that sort of seems to be like the event horizon to
Uh
me,
huh.
like that people are looking towards the fall to start doing stuff again.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know how it'll play out. Like, maybe people
It's
will
very hard
start
to say.
kind of experimenting in the summer. That could be possible.
I feel like that'll be possible, or like late spring, maybe. It's weird because like I even talked to Anthony from Come and Take It Live here in Austin, and I think it was like a week or two ago. He texted me, and he said that they're going to be able to reopen in November. That's what it's looking like. It's not like concrete. Um, and I was like, oh wow. He's like, yeah, let's see if we can get like some bands down here, fly in for like a show, a few shows around Texas. And I was like, I mean, we could see because I'm like, I don't know of like really any bands that would do something like that unless they're from the state of Texas.
Yeah.
There might be some that might be down with it depending on the rules and how it's all going to be set up.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I've seen some bands talk about it in those terms.
Yeah.
Clutch being one of them,
Oh,
saying
okay.
they were looking into like doing a residency, like,
Oh,
once a week show in, I forget where they're from, like Memphis or something.
okay.
Um,
At like a certain venue. Right.
yeah,
That's
and
what
it
the
was just an
yeah.
idea. This was nothing that they, at least as far as I know, that they concretely took steps to make happen. But I could totally see it going that way
Yeah.
because it keeps the expense down, and how
Yeah.
important that is. It's just touring is expensive.
It is.
So,
It is
if you can
very.
just do a couple of local or regional shows, I think that's a good way to test the waters
Yeah,
for
I think
bands.
so as well. Because it's like I do like I can't hate on a venue that's able to open back. If you're able to open back up, you got to, right? You
Hmm.
can't like if you want to keep your business going, and stay alive. And the state, city is like, okay, you can open back up at 50% capacity. It's like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to do it, and you just have to be very safe and strict. And obviously, your secure. I feel like your security and whatnot, your staff has to be very on top of, like, I guess, watching everyone and making sure all the, people that are attending the show or whatever are, following the rules. Because obviously when people start drinking alcohol, they're going to start,
Yeah, man.
oh, fuck this, I'm not wearing a mask, or, you know what I'm saying? Or might
dude,
start
no, I
following the
know.
rules. So it's like,
Or like not even necessarily meaning to, just like getting, talking a little bit closer to somebody without really thinking about it.
It happens. We've all been there. We've all gotten, a lot, you and I, it's just how it is and what alcohol will do. And so I'm curious to see, because it's definitely sucks to see places closing down big time, obviously. And the last thing I want to, especially when it's like people that I'm like close with, like, for one example, Anthony, like I've been close with Anthony for 10 years now, over 10 years now. And I remember when he first got Come and Take It Live, it was called Grizzly Hall before. I remember when he first bought it, him and his partner, I was so stoked for him, I was like, finally, Anthony has his own venue, and to see him going through all this. Luckily, he has a really awesome landlord, so, which has been helping him, but it's just, I know he, like, the landlord, like, gave him like a few months free, which is nice. Great. We're very nice of him. It's not a lot of landlords doing that.
Unfortunately, yeah, exactly. Like, not everyone is going to get that.
Yeah. So he's definitely been lucky, but at the same time, Anthony is the type of guy that, is not going to leave his employees hanging, dry. So he's been helping them out and, whatnot. So I definitely want to see him pull through. And everyone else, obviously, too. I mean, everyone's hurting. St. Vitus, everybody. Which, speaking of St. Vitus, got the shirt.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yeah,
I can't see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I spoke with David a little bit today,
like the other thing is, like when touring does return, like, it's going to be hard for people like you to book, because who knows what venues are even going to still be around
and what the rules are.
Yeah, and what the rule, like, can you put together a continuous routing, like, where, that makes sense for a band to do?
Yeah.
Where the rules are going to allow shows, and at what capacity will those shows be, and will it be worth it for bands, to tour if they can only fill 25 or 50% of the room? Like, do the economics work?
Yeah.
And what kind of guarantees are bands going to be getting? And are people going to feel comfortable going? There's just like so many factors.
So many factors. And there's like a lot of people that, I mean, even bands that I've spoken with, that when I start bringing those things up to them, that they're like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you guys will be able to start playing shows, but like, you probably won't be able to do like a full like US tour. You might only be able to do like these 5 states, or like cities, and that's what it's going to be, and that's it. And you're going to go home right after. Or
which makes it hard for, like Rivers, for example. They've got guys in like 4 different states.
I know.
So just getting them together in the same place to begin a tour is just an expense right out of the gate.
Right away.
And then it's like, is it worth it after that? Like, and so many bands are in that same boat.
Yeah, you're right. It's crazy. I guess we're going to see how everything plays out. I don't know. Everyone's like, well, we're going to see what it looks like after the election. And I'm like, I guess so. I'm like, maybe.
I mean,
but who knows, right? Who knows?
The election is its own
thing. We're not going to get into that crap.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh Lord.
Anyway. Well, Ben, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it. It's been a good time catching up, also learning about MetalSucks, learning about Blast Beat Network, learning about how you met the Rivers and Nile guys, because I actually never knew that. I never asked you about that.
Yeah,
or any
thanks
of
for
those
having me,
things.
man.
You
This is
know, it's
this
been
has been
fun.
fun. I like doing this kind of, it's like I don't get a ton of interview requests just
Yeah,
because like
same.
most writers don't, but like I like doing them and I like telling my story. So thank you for the
Yeah,
opportunity.
man. Yeah, and I'll upload this to YouTube probably tomorrow or the next day as well. There's a lot of
Cool.
people,
I'll
a lot
share
of
it
people
for
can't
sure.
attend just a live stream, so I like to put it up on there as well. But
Definitely.
awesome, man. Well, again, thank you everyone for sticking around. Anyone that missed it's going to be on YouTube. And Ben, thank you again. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. See you later, everyone.